Dr. Dark One Horror Stories. I'm not sure where to even start with this. I guess it all started with those annoying password reset emails. I hadn't thought about my old email account in years, honestly forgot it even existed. I made it back in college, used it for everything back then, but eventually I switched to a new one and never looked back. But about a month ago, I started getting these notifications. Your password reset request has been received. It happened once, and I thought it was spam. You know how it is. These things come in waves, and then they stop. But it didn't stop. Every other day, it was the same email. At first, I didn't pay attention to it, but then I started getting that itch in the back of my mind, that weird feeling you get when something doesn't add up. I kept thinking, who's trying to get into my account? I hadn't used it in years. My head kept coming up with these random weird reasons, like maybe it was just some bot trying random emails. But then, after 2 weeks of constant emails, I couldn't let it go. I figured, why not just log in and change the password? Maybe that'd stop it. So I did. It took a few tries to even remember the password, and once I got in, everything felt normal at first. The inbox was packed with junk mail, newsletters, and promotions from places I didn't even remember signing up for. But then, as I was scrolling, I noticed something off. In the sent folder, there were emails I definitely hadn't sent. I opened the most recent one, which was sent just a few days earlier. The subject line was just a single word: found. The email was short, just a few lines, saying something like, I finally found it. Let me know if you're still there. The thing was, I didn't recognize the person it was sent to. The name was Casey, and I had no idea who that was. I thought maybe it was just spam. Maybe I'd been hacked. But then I checked the other sent emails, and there were dozens of messages, all sent to the same person over the last few months. Each one was just as vague, sometimes just a single line or a few words. Are you still waiting? I think I know where it is now. You'll be safe soon. The more I read, the stranger it got. I could feel this chill starting to crawl up my spine because the way these emails were written, it was like they were from me. Like someone was pretending to be me, using my words, my tone. By the time I'd gone through all the emails, my heart was pounding. It felt like I was reading some weird conversation with a person who didn't respond, someone who had been waiting. For me? But that didn't make sense. I didn't know anyone named Casey. I had no reason to send those messages. That night I tried to shake it off, but I couldn't stop thinking about it. My mind kept replaying the lines, the weird urgency in those words. I found myself checking my phone constantly, like I was waiting for something without knowing what. The next night, it got even worse. Just as I was starting to drift off to sleep, I heard a knock at the door. 3 knocks, slow and steady. I jumped up, my heart racing. I don't know why, but it felt like I knew exactly who it was, like I'd been expecting it. I opened the door, but no one was there. The same thing happened the night after that, and the next. Each time, 3 slow knocks right around midnight, and each time when I opened the door, there was no one there. By the 4th night of those knocks, I was getting desperate. I tried ignoring them, but each knock felt louder than the last, echoing through the whole apartment. I felt ridiculous pacing back and forth, just staring at the door. It was like my whole night was centered around these knocks, each one like some reminder I couldn't understand. The next morning, after barely any sleep, I decided to dig further. I figured maybe if I could find some clue about who was sending those emails, it would make this all feel less, I don't know, haunted, I guess. It was hard to describe, but I had this feeling like the emails and the knocking were connected somehow. I opened my laptop and logged back into the account, scrolling through the emails with a kind of dread I couldn't shake. But then I saw something I hadn't noticed before. Some of the messages in the sent folder had attachments. My hands were shaking as I opened the first one. It was a photo, but it looked corrupted. It was just a blur of colors and static, like an old TV screen when it can't find a signal. But behind the static, I could make out a shape, something that looked like a dark figure standing in a doorway. The file was timestamped 2 weeks ago, the day I started getting the password reset notifications. The next few emails had similar photos, each one getting clearer, showing the same dark figure a little closer, like it was stepping forward. In the last photo, it was right up close to the camera, but the face was blurred, twisted somehow, like it couldn't quite take shape. I felt a chill run through me as I looked at that last image. There was something off about the whole thing, something that felt too familiar. I don't know why, but I felt like I knew the person in the picture, even though I couldn't see their face. That night, I lay in bed, my mind running in circles, trying to piece together who could have sent those emails. Maybe someone hacked my account, sure, but why send those messages? And why does someone named Casey? And why include those photos? None of it made sense. Then, right at midnight, the knocking started again. This time, I didn't get up right away. I just lay there listening, trying to convince myself it was just some prank, maybe a kid messing around in the hall. But the sound was so close, like it was coming from right outside my door. 3 knocks, then silence. I waited, but nothing happened. I thought maybe it was finally over, but then I heard it again. 3 knocks, slow and steady. The sound felt like it was rattling through my bones. I got up, heart racing, and went to the door. My hand was shaking as I reached for the handle. But before I could open it, the knocking started again, this time faster, louder. It was like whoever was on the other side was trying to break the door down. I yanked it open, and there was no one there. Just the empty hallway, dimly lit by the old fluorescent lights. I stood there feeling like I was going to pass out, like the walls were closing in on me. I slammed the door shut and locked it, backing away as far as I could, trying to tell myself it was over, that it was just some kid messing around. But deep down, I knew that wasn't true. The next day, I couldn't focus on anything. I was exhausted, my head pounding, but I had to keep looking for answers. I went back into the email account, opening every message, every attachment, looking for any clue I'd missed. And that's when I saw something I hadn't noticed before. There was a draft saved in the account, an email that had never been sent. The subject line was blank and there was no text, but there was an attachment, a video file. My stomach twisted as I opened it. The video was grainy, shot in low light, but I could make out the setting. It was my apartment. I could see myself sitting at my desk, looking at my laptop with this blank, almost haunted look on my face. But what froze me in place was the person behind me, standing just a few feet away. It was the same dark figure from the photos, standing so close it could have reached out and touched me. I couldn't see its face, but I could feel its presence, cold and heavy, like it was right there with me. The video ended abruptly, leaving me staring at the screen, too terrified to move. That night, I didn't sleep. I just sat on the couch, waiting. I don't even know what I was waiting for. An answer, maybe, or some kind of explanation. But all I got was the knocking. Right at midnight, 3 knocks, louder than before, like they were shaking the walls. I tried to ignore it, but it felt like the knocking was inside my head, echoing through me. And that's when I realized I'd been hearing it from inside my apartment, not outside the door. The thought hit me like a punch to the gut, but before I could even process it, the knocking started again. And then, it hit me. I was the one knocking. I'd been knocking all along. I turned around looking at the door, but I couldn't move. It was like I was trapped, stuck in this loop I couldn't break out of. And that's when it all came flooding back. The memories, the emails, the photos. The realization that I'd been gone all along, that I wasn't supposed to be here. And as the knocking grew louder, echoing in my ears, I understood. I was the ghost. I was the one haunting my own apartment, trying to get back to a life I'd already lost.